Welcome to the Wealth Embodied podcast. I'm your host, Brianna Faringer, an attorney, spiritual guide, and wealth activator. I'm here to help you align your mindset for abundance and break through any glass ceilings with money. If you're ready to embrace your highest calling, manifest with more ease, and create a life that feels lighter and more aligned, then let's dive in. Hello, welcome to the Wealth Embodied podcast. I'm your host, Brianna. Hope that you're having an amazing day. I'm going to talk about a topic today that is a little bit more money and action focused than what I normally talk about, because a lot of times I'm just talking about mindset, but the thing I'm going to talk about today is really centered around money, specifically looking at your bank account and budgeting, which may sound really boring to some people. It's not boring, and don't turn this off if you're having resistance to budgeting, please. If you're like, I don't need to budget, please keep listening. And this is really about having the courage to look at your bank account. This is something that does come up with people I work with, and there's a lot of different reasons that this particular topic comes up. And I think it's important, particularly with what's going on in just our world today and how much more expensive things are getting, and just being really conscious about what you're spending money on and making sure that it aligns with not only the kind of life you want to live today, but the life you want to have in the future. Because there are so many people that don't have enough money to live off of in the future. They don't have savings, they don't have retirement, and that is something that you can never start too early on. If I could go back and redo it over, I would again, but I don't ever regret the choices that I do or don't make around anything, because it got me to where I'm at today. But I really think this is such an important topic, and it's also never too late. Like, if you are super young and you're like, I don't need to worry about this now, that's not true. And if you're older and you're like, I don't have enough time to worry about this, it's not true. It's never, ever, ever too early to start, and it's never too late to start, but it's better to start earlier rather than later. Budgeting and saving. So yeah, I'm really want to dig into having the courage to look at your bank account. It is something that people have a lot of fear around sometimes. Actually looking at your bank account and being able to do it regularly and without fear or anxiety. If you do not go into your bank account every day or regularly, I would tell you start doing it. You have to practice. So if you have anxiety about doing it, start doing it and allow yourself to feel the feelings that you have, so that you can get better at it. And I'm going to talk about, some more ways to do this, but it's hard for people because there's often shame or guilt about overspending. This is the one thing that comes up a lot. I had this come up recently with a client who was afraid to look because that person didn't want to have to face what money had been being spent on, and then recognizing, oh my gosh, I did things wrong. Well, if you don't do it, you're never going to do it. And so hiding from it is not a good idea. It's just not. They have a fear about what they might discover, and the feeling about feeling and or thought about being bad with money, they want to continue to perpetuate that mindset. So our thoughts are creating our reality. If you have a mindset that you're bad with money, you are generally going to avoid looking at places that show you that, because then you think you're going to actually have to face it head on. But actually, the opposite is true. The more you look at it and the more familiar you become with it and the more neutral you feel around money, the more you are going to get it. Having an emotional charge around money, particularly like stress, anxiety, having this like anxious energy around money, it's a blocking energy. It does not bring more money to you. It repels it. Money's energy is neutral. So if you are neutral, money can flow to you more easily because it is also neutral. It doesn't care whether you have it or not. But if you are constantly in a state of ignoring things around money because of stress, anxiety, fear, shame, guilt, all of that stuff, it's actually going to make it harder for you to get the amount of money you want. It doesn't mean you can't make money. It just means it's going to feel harder along the way. And there is something so powerful about being able to go and look at your bank account and not have fear, no matter what it is. Because It's not about the circumstances that are happening in our life, it's about our reaction to it. And the more that you can neutralize feelings around looking at your bank account, the better you can become with it. You can't start to change your relationship with money if you can't even look at your bank account. And I want to segue onto something that's really important here. I know that this doesn't happen as much nowadays, but if there are any people out there that are dependent on another person, a family member or a romantic partner or something, even a business partner when it comes to money, and you don't pay attention to what's going on either in your household or in your business, and you don't participate in financial decisions or even looking at finances, stop that today. Please get involved at least a little bit. So I, as an attorney, I mostly represent taxpayers against the IRS. I have in the past done probate, which is helping people administer the assets of a deceased person. And I cannot tell you the number of times I have seen the scenario play out where a couple was married, the husband has died, the wife is still alive and has literally never paid a bill in her life. And again, I don't think that happens as much nowadays, but it does still happen. And you're maybe listening to this and being like, that's never going to happen to me, or like the chances of somebody dying is so small. Okay, well, it's better to plan for the risk that can happen. If you are dependent on another person to pay bills, if you are dependent on another person to take care of financial decisions, please, please, please start getting involved at least a little bit so that you are not put in a situation where you are a fish out of water and you have absolutely no idea what to do. It's not a very good place to be, and it's not going to be helpful to you. So if this is something that is happening, particularly do not ever let a business partner control all the financial decisions and all of the functions. Now, differently, in a business, you have different roles, but I will tell you also, as a tax attorney, I cannot even tell you the number of times I have seen scenarios where one business partner has taken money from the other, or an employee was stealing from the business because the people owning it were not paying attention. Don't let that be you. I've seen it many, many, many times. This is not as low a chance as you think it is. I'm telling you, because I've seen it a lot. And the people I work with in my law office have seen it a lot. It's a pretty common fact pattern in my world. So don't ever let any other person be in control of everything if you are in any type of a partnership. And I mean a romantic partnership, business partnership, whatever. You got to have enough information and enough courage to be able to get involved so that you can pick up things if something goes wrong in the event of an emergency or some kind of event happening. Please, please, please don't let this be you. There is a really big cost to avoiding looking at your bank account. Huge cost. So the way that we handle things, they're always serving us in some way. And I say this a lot. Everything that you do in your life is serving you in some way. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing it. But it's usually also costing you something if it's an unhealthy pattern. So when people are avoiding looking at their bank account or getting, their head wrapped around how much they're spending or how much money is coming in or anything like that, they don't realize how much it's costing them. And I'm not just talking about in money. I'm talking about in being able to build a better relationship with money. It can affect your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health. If you have stress and anxiety around money, I can't tell you how, there's no monetary value that you can put on feeling better about money. I don't stress or worry about money very often. It does happen, but I don't do it anywhere near the way that I used to. And that's more valuable than having money. So there's a huge cost to avoiding looking at your bank account and getting into your finances in a way that can be helpful for you. You miss opportunities to adjust your spending early on. You will continue unconscious habits that sabotage long-term goals. You build anxiety instead of peace around money, and it limits future abundance because it keeps you in fear. So if you want to have a better future, you need to start planning it now. If you don't have any money in savings, if you don't have any money in retirement, you can start doing those things if you can get to the place where you can look at your bank account and face money. You have to be willing to face money. This is not that big of a deal, guys. This comes up a lot. I mean, and that's why I really want to address it. I felt so compelled to talk about it because a lot of people will tell me, I don't want to look at my bank account. I've had times in my life where I've done that before I was started to get into money mindset work. And usually I was avoiding having to face the reality of something. That's not a good place to be. Stop avoiding things, especially around money. So if you were to start looking at your spending, I'm not telling you have to start budgeting and saving, although this is where I'm going with this. When you start looking at things, you have more power in your life than you do right now, because awareness is power. You can't change what you don't measure, right? If you're not looking at it, you can't change it. You start to get clear on what's happening in your bank account and you can build confidence. Seeing the actual numbers will make things less scary than you imagined. Maybe it won't, but it's usually not as bad as we think it is. And there's a lot of opportunities where you can be like, okay, maybe I'm spending too much on this and I do want to start paying attention to it. You can start making more aligned spending choices, redirecting small amounts to create big results over time. This would be putting money in savings or investing. The amount of money that people are missing out on making by not putting money away in investments, even in really, really small amounts, is insane. If you don't think you have the money today to start putting money away for your future, and your factual circumstances may be that that's true. Sometimes that is true. I can tell you almost always people can find money somewhere that they can start putting it away. If you were putting even $25 a month into an investment account or a retirement account, some sort of tax advantaged account like an IRA or a 401k, and by the way, I'm not giving people investment or planning advice because that's not the kind of work I do. I wouldn't anyway because nobody that's listening is my client. But if you were to start putting $25 a month away, that would be so much money in however many years, 20 to 30 years. Like I can't do the math for you, but it would be a lot. And people will find themselves being like, well, that's not even very much money. Why would I do it? Because putting something away is better than nothing. So think about that. If you started putting $25 a month in an investment account, how much more you would have than you do right now, which is nothing. The sooner you start saving, the better, because of compounding interest. Don't wait to start saving money. Please, please, please. So simple steps to start changing this. If this is not something that you do regularly, you don't look in your bank account, just start small. Just do it once a week. Don't do it when you know there's a big problem in there, when you're like, oh, I just spent a lot of money on something, or you just went out and bought something and you feel bad about it. Don't do it then. Wait for that to pass, but go in 1 week and just allow yourself to look and recognize how you feel. This is about recognizing the feelings, the emotions that are coming up. Am I stressed? Am I afraid? Writing it down. What's actually happening here? So that you can try to start to address, what are the fears? What are the things that I need to start being aware of so I can start trying to shift them? You can't shift a mindset if you don't know it exists. So what is it that you're afraid of? This will illuminate a lot for people, and it's going to be different for everybody. So just start small. Go into your bank account. Let yourself sit there. Look at it. If you're pissed, be pissed. If you're sad, be sad. If you're frustrated, be frustrated. But feel the emotion, right? And I'm taking a deep breath in. Breathing can change so many things. If you're starting to feel stressed, deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. Just focus on your breath. That's going to help get you back to a place of being more centered and grounded. If you're mad, that's fine. Recognize how you feel. And then if you can't get yourself to a place where you feel like safe in your body or you feel neutral, close it out and keep doing it again. Practice, practice, practice with every single thing that you're trying to do differently in your life. Nobody picks up on these habits immediately. You just have to try. And you want to start removing judgment. There's information in your bank account. It's not a moral scorecard. You don't have to go in and be like, oh, I am so irresponsible, I spent all this money. No, if that's coming up, write it down, because these are important things. What are the voices going through your mind? Like, what's the voice saying? You're bad with money. You're irresponsible with money. You shouldn't have done that. You're, whatever, all of the nasty things that you want to say to yourself, write them down so that you can actually see what it is. Because the more you go through with this, the more it's going to change. Track categories, see where the money is going. And I'm not telling you have to go line by line, but maybe you can start getting a budget tracker just to see where things go, or start tracking just like a couple of the biggest expenses. Usually our biggest expenses are rent or mortgage and, utilities, maybe car, if you have a car payment. If you have childcare, that's going to be another big one. For me, it's my dog. I spend a lot of money on my dog, which is fine with me because he's my biggest priority. But just look at a couple of the biggest categories, just to be like, okay, this is how much I'm spending on this. You don't have to go through everything. If you don't want to look at clothes or eating out or alcohol or whatever the thing is, you don't have to dig into the details immediately, right? I'm not telling you to go in and start, in one day be able to like change how you feel about doing this exercise, budget, and start saving. That's probably not going to happen. So don't be unrealistic. Just small, simple steps to start changing the habit. Make one small change, right? Like maybe you go in and you're like, okay, I'm spending $15 a month on this subscription and I'm not using it. Great. Can you start putting that into an emergency savings account? Of course you probably can. So start doing that. Start putting it into a savings account. Where else can you look at just making one small change? Like I said, don't overhaul everything today or whenever you start doing this. Small steps. And then pair this with a vision. Remember what you're creating. What do you want? What do you want in your life? Most people want freedom. And they want to have some freedom now and they want to have security later on when they're in retirement. How can you start to align your habits if you're not aligning them already with those goals? So I'm going to go through those again. These are 5 steps I was talking about. Starting small, just looking at it once a week and building up. Removing the judgment around it. You are not going in there to make yourself say nasty things to yourself. That's not what the purpose of this exercise is. Tracking categories is number 3. 4, making one small change, getting rid of an expense, maybe reducing an expense, finding somewhere that you can start putting money away. You don't have to be saving thousands of dollars a month. If you can do that, that's amazing. But if you're a person who's like, I can't save money, start with $5 a month. Everyone has $5 you can find. There's very few people that can't find $5. If you tell me you can't find $5, I know that you can somewhere. And then think about what you really want in your life. Start saying, what are my priorities with money? And do my spending habits align with that? That's going to be a harder one for people to go through, but it's definitely worth going through some of these things and just give yourself grace. It's not about making yourself feel bad. And if that's what you are experiencing when you go to do this, just recognizing the feeling. And if it's like really overwhelming, give yourself some time and space to keep working through it. I am inviting everyone listening to go in and open your bank account and write down your top 3 spending categories. If you do nothing else, just get a look and see like what am I spending the most of my money on? It's going to be rent or mortgage. Like that's pretty much a no-brainer. If you go in there and you're like, my number 1 spending category is my car and I'm paying more for my car and rent, okay, that's fine. I mean, I'm not judging that. Maybe you like cars and that's more important to you than where you live, right? There's no judgment around any of this. But then ask yourself, when I look at these top 3 spending categories, does it reflect what matters most to me? Does it reflect what matters most to you? If it does, great. If it doesn't, I would challenge you to make a change and track it. Right? So if you don't want to go through the 5 steps I just talked about, maybe it's easier for you to go through and just say, okay, I'm going to open my bank account. What are the top 3 spending categories I have? And does this reflect what matters most to you? If it does, great. If it doesn't, change it. Do something to change it, even if it's small. And I want to just make sure that people know, this is another kind of fear that people have, is that facing your bank account and facing the numbers, it's not about restriction. People think if I go in there, then I'm going to have to stop doing what I'm doing. That is going to prevent you from going in there, right? So your mindset determines your reality and it defines the actions that you take. If you say, I don't want to go in there because I don't want to restrict what I'm spending, then you're never going to start saving money if that's what you want to do. Because you're telling yourself you can't. Differently, if you look at it and say, I'm not looking at this to restrict, I'm looking at it so I can make choices that align with what I want in my life. That's a helpful reframe, right? Instead of like the mindset of, I don't want to restrict what I'm spending, look at it as, this is about making choices that align with what I want now and in my future. two ways of looking at the exact same thing. One's helpful, one's not. This is about choice. It's about freedom. It's about creating the life that you want now and in the future. I wish I had done this differently, but like I said at the beginning, I don't like to ever go back and say I regret doing things differently. I don't. I did start putting money away towards retirement in my 20s. And I had a decent job at that time, but then what happened was I quit that job. I quit a high-paying, very good job with a lot of upward potential to go to law school. I was 30 years old when I went to law school. So I quit my job. For 4 years, I was not making any money. I went to law school for 3 years. I came home that summer and studied for the bar and took it in Colorado. Then I moved to Washington, D.C. to get my master's in tax law. So for an entire 4-year period, I was not working. I was going into debt. Then I started working as a lawyer, and my first, my initial salary was not very high. And I was really, spent the first couple years out of law school just trying to make ends meet. And so it wasn't even until probably, several years after I was out of law school, I was probably like 37 or maybe even 38 that I could start putting money away again. And so that life choice that I made was worth it to me, but then I started putting more money away. I have made some, investments that I'm glad I made, but still today, I'm 46, I am not anywhere near having what I need to have in the future. And so for me now, I'm not panicked by any means, but I'm definitely wow, I have to get on it. I can't keep letting time go by and not contributing. And then what happened was I worked for a lawyer, I made good money, but then I quit my job and I didn't work for a while and I lived off savings and stuff. And so, I've had a couple setbacks, as we all do. We have, our life changes, things change, our priorities change, how much money we actually have the ability to put away changes. But I have really this year made intentional choices to cut down on a lot of things. And something about me is I've always lived below my means. That's always been something that's important to me because money was so stressful to me. And I have always stayed within that. I live below my means because it's less stressful when it comes to money. And when you live below your means, it's usually easier to find ways to do things with extra money when you have it. And so for me, at the beginning of this year, I was I'm really just going to limit my spending. And I've always been good about not spending a lot. I don't buy tons of clothes. I don't drink alcohol. I actually don't even go out to eat a lot anymore. I pretty much stopped that during COVID, even when I did go out. But I'm in a place where I'm just I want to spend my money how I want to spend it. And I don't buying clothes is not that interesting to me anymore. But I've just never been a big spender. But I'm things are so expensive. And I think we spend so much money on things that we don't need to. And for me, it's been really important this year to get focused on what my goals are, not just right now so that it aligns with what's important in my life today, but it aligns with what's important for me in the future. And that's going to require me making choices today to limit and change my spending so that I can put more money away to have for what I need in 20 or 25 years. And I strongly encourage you to do that because missing out on putting money in investment accounts or tax advantaged accounts, you have no idea the power of little amounts of money that you're putting away and compounding interest and gains that are made in the market. Please, please, please don't be afraid to do this because you're I don't know how to invest. You don't need to know how to invest. We're not talking about that today. And you can figure that out. It's really not as hard as people make it out to be, and you don't have to invest on your own. But make a change today. Start saving $5 a week, start saving $5 a month. The more that you do that, and the more that you intentionally start putting money away for emergencies and for the future, it's so important. But just don't make this be the excuse that you're not doing this because you're afraid to go in your bank account and look and see what's going on. I really, really hope this was helpful for you today. I want you all to be super wealthy. I want you all to have tons of money. And so I hope that you are able to take something away and do some of these things to start saving. And if you have any questions, as always, you're free to reach out to me. You can DM me on Instagram. You can email me. You can find me on my website. I love answering questions for people. But thank you so much for listening and have an amazing day. Bye. Hey, before you go, would you love to receive my 3-step masterclass to easily create and hold wealth for free? It's called Effortless Money, and it includes the exact framework to start attracting money effortlessly and manifesting abundance with more ease. If you want it for free, all you have to do is leave an honest review of the Wealth Embodied podcast, take a screenshot of this episode and put it in your Instagram stories and tag me at Brianna_Faringer, and we will send you the free Effortless Money Masterclass. This is how my clients have manifested a $13,000 check, a promotion resulting in a $30,000 salary increase, and significantly improved relationships. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you next time on the Wealth Embodied podcast.